Hi there, I'm John. I'm an artist, and I'm based in New York City. Or rather, I was. Now, I spend most of my time back where I grew up, in Michigan. I'm an artist in isolation.
Hello. It's 6 a.m. I've been up all night. I just tried recording a video and I didn't like it. It's hard to make a video on it because there's also a lot that, that's unknown about everything. I don't know. So that's what I tried doing tonight, but it didn't work. So I don't know, maybe I can turn this into something later, but I'm just not feeling it, so.
As an artist, moving from big city back to small town felt like defeat. I left Michigan in the first place for the opportunities that New York had to offer, as most people do. And although the whole world seems to be on hold, I still can't shake the feeling that I've somehow betrayed my goals, the dream, by leaving. Now, this video isn't so much about the current state of the world, but rather what it's been like as an artist, transitioning both body and mind from that big, busy city to slow city, and ultimately to small town, for what is looking like the foreseeable future. New York City changed for me overnight, much like it did for most people, I imagine. What I suddenly found myself with was something that I never would have expected while I was in New York, which was time. No more survival job, no classes, lessons, or any collaborative projects. Everything that I had in progress was now either canceled or on hold. All I had left to work on was my art, for me. And honestly, I wasn't prepared for it. Before we left, I hadn't done much with that time at all. I released my new book a few weeks ago. I worked on that there, some, but overall, the artistry dried up during our time staying at home. I think we can generally forgive any lapses in motivation during this time, but nonetheless, it bothers me how easily I slid. Since we've been back here in Michigan, I've been putting both New York and my art to mind. I've been finding it helpful to talk about it. So in the interest of a continued conversation, I'd like to share my thoughts. People praise New York for its unending inspirations. From the people to the art to the unexpected, the day-to-day there is wild. Being a creator there, though, it somehow requires New York City to be the backdrop for your art, to be sustained by it, if that makes sense. That pressure does exist. But I've rarely felt the drive to run from my apartment in search of that next cool idea, the next subject of my artistry. I've tried, I've been successful, and I've been happy with the process, but the more I discover about my artistry, the more I realize I don't need the big city to drive my art. In fact, I think it's fettered by it. New York City, at the end of the day, is a tool, and a tool that I'm happy to pick up should I find a way to make careful use of it. But good work isn't just about the tools that you use. The art comes from a different place completely. So, a question I've been asking myself recently: does it devalue my artistry to simply be an artist living in New York City, rather than being a New York City artist? I don't know, but it's curious. New York helped me to find my artistry, I think, more quickly. But I wouldn't have been any less of an artist if I had stayed here in Michigan. So what has being here back in my home state over the last few months taught me? Well, it's given me perspective. If I'm being totally honest, part of me wonders if I may have been expecting New York to do the work for me. Being a New York City artist, it should have been enough to validate my credibility as an artist. Opportunities would have come more easily, jobs will just line themselves up, that sort of thing, but that's simply not true. And I'm learning that now more than ever. New York is kind of known for taking you in and churning you out as a better version of whatever you were when you jumped in, but you have to have the courage to enter the cage, so to speak, to get tossed around in the first place. I'm not saying I wasn't in the cage, but I think I skirted around the fight. But New York, for me, it wasn't about that fight. It was about discovery. I learned a lot about my artistry, about being an artist in New York, no doubts about that. But what I'm learning here in Michigan is that I need to be the provider, the motivation, the responsible party. My wife, Casey, and I co-host the Some of Us podcast. In it, we talk about what our lives and experiences are like finding that delicate balance between her world of accounting and my world of art. On the podcast, we've made it no secret that we do intend on moving to LA, and that's still very much the plan. The question of when, of course, now a little bit more up in the air, but we will. So I think my approach to LA, when we do decide to make our move, needs to be the same as what a move back to New York City would be. And even, yes, although temporary, what our move back here to Michigan has become, at least for me. Over these few weeks that I've been here in the remote Midwest, I've learned a great deal more about my artistry and my attitude towards it. It's been a breath of fresh air, pun intended. Now, more than ever, I've had the freedom to explore my art full time. And what I'm finding is exactly what I thought New York City was going to give me in the first place. New York City was never in the cards for us long term. It was always meant to just be where we start. But what I'm realizing is it was all reach and no grip. And it's not that it's too hot to handle, but it can be quickly if you're not ready. And having been stripped of everything else but my art, and with the time to refresh my perspective, I'm feeling more prepared than ever.